Welcome back to Sightings of the Unknown. I'd like to tell you a story today that happened to me in September of 2004. We were living then right in the foot of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And one day I was out on the back deck, and where we live you can see the airlines fly over the mountain range. It's, I guess, the safe place to fly in case they go down. And so we see a lot of airline traffic go through. And I was on the phone talking to my mother and watching the planes go by. And I remember seeing a smaller jet as I was talking to her, flying twice as fast as the rest of them. And as I looked at it a little closer, I realized that I didn't actually see any tail or wings. It just, all I could make out was really a ball. And I remember telling my mom, I said, "Now there goes one flying pretty fast." And I hadn't no more than said that when all of a sudden a smoke trail started coming out from behind it. And I went, "Oh man, I think a jet just blew an engine." And so I'm still watching it, and it goes back off. The jet trail goes back off, and then it comes on again. It does this 4 times, going on and off. And I told Mom, I said, I didn't know whether engine thing was going to blow up or what. And I noticed a glimmer of metal off to the right. And I looked up, and it was in the direction that this ball was traveling. And what I saw next, if I just had this on video, was a dish-shaped craft, huge. It was you could probably land a dozen 747s on it. And it came down, I'm gonna guess it was, at regular airline altitude, around 30,000 feet. And it came down at a 50-degree angle, I would say. And I was seeing it pretty much edge on. I could see a kind of a bubble up on top, but I can see why a lot of people call them cigar shaped, because from that angle, it really doesn't look like a saucer, say. It looks more like, a cigar, but you could see the metallic gleam off of it. And it came down a little ways, and it just stopped in midair at that angle. And the smaller white looking ball flew right towards it and went up underneath it, but it didn't go out of sight. And I think, it wasn't smoking anymore. I believe whatever trouble he was having, they fixed it. And then I seen it just fly, the white ball just gain altitude and fly out of sight. Then I thought about trying to run to get a camera. I thought about trying to run and get some binoculars, but I figured by the time I got back outside there wouldn't be anything to see. And as it is, that's how it would have worked out, because it started moving back at that same angle back up. And it just kind of like it de-digitized. It just went invisible. It didn't go that far before it went out of sight. For as big as it was, it did something to cloak itself. And it didn't just take off, with a mad speed that, I think they're capable of. But I sure saw this, and it was an amazing sight. Like I said, I'd give anything to have it on video. But it was so big, and it was still pretty close. I actually was a little bit afraid. I thought, don't reckon they would know that I seen them somehow, and anything come of that, because it really wasn't that far away, but I couldn't believe how big it was. And there were planes that always fly through there. This was right through the airline's flight path, and there's bound to be pilots that seen that on that September day in 2004, and it'd be cool to talk to one of them or anybody that did see it. That was all that I